Getting old. When I come out here to start a show and I'm going to start talking about, boy, you know it's football season, when Brian Kelly's going out there to the Rotary Club talking and previewing the season. But nevertheless, we are going to preview what Brian Kelly and talk about what Brian Kelly said today at the Rotary Club in Baton Rouge as he previewed the season. Boy, that means that we're a week away from college football. And what I mean by that, not actual games, I mean camp. Because, yes, your boy is going to be out there. His credentials out here are starting to maybe go out. But that's going to be really good because we'll be out there and watching it as well. We're going to talk about Brian Kelly and his preview of the season. A lot of big pieces that Brian Kelly mentioned today, more than what we got at SEC Media Days. We'll bring all of that up. Harold Perkins is the Freak of the Week, pause, for LSU. LSU gives out an award every single week from their strength and conditioning coach, Jake Flint. Harold Perkins has made an emergent. Funny how we talked about Harold Perkins at length last night, and all of a sudden he's the Freak of the Week. And then last week we talked about, Chris Hilton the whole night before, and then he's the Freak of the Week. That's really interesting. Never is by or all things are by design. We'll talk about Harold Perkins, things that we're hearing. He been getting the Freak of the Week. What does that mean? Some things we're hearing around Perk. We did talk about him. We won't stay on that long, but we will mention it as well here tonight. Fall camp preview. Every time that we're about a week away, we do this every year. We've done it the last 4 years. It's been really fun every time we do it. 3 big questions that I want to see when we go into fall camp. You know, the guests that we have on here, whether it be Wilson Alexander from The Advocate, Carter, whoever it may be, especially people that's on this media beat, the question that I always ask them is very simple. When it's about this time, hey, what are the 3 things that you want to see going into LSU football's season? Are there 3 things that you need to see, that you got to see, that when those gates open and day one of camp starts, that you're glued in on? We'll talk about the 3 for Blake Ruffino that hit here tonight. And, Blake's going to talk about the quarterback position. No, I'm not. It's actually not going to come up. But 3 things that we got to get very, very much understood as the season starts to near. And at the end of the show here, if we've got time, we'll get the thoughts, questions, and concerns. Any questions and thoughts or just random comments that you have, we'll get to all of them as well here tonight. Christopher Westbrink says, let's go. Good to have you in here, good sir. Good to have you in here. Good to see you in here as well. Stephen Young on YouTube says, whoever said the SEC schedule is a cupcake central better explain why he thinks Clemson, Ohio State, Florida State, Miami, and Notre Dame are cupcakes. Yeah, Stephen, we talked about that at great nauseum last night. I think the sport sits in a really interesting and weird place at the current moment. All of you now know where I sit. Where I sit is very simple. Where I sit is I don't agree with the AQ models. I don't think that playing games are good. Well, Blake, it's more football. Yet when you do playing games to the playoff, you're expanding the playoff. You're just putting a really fancy name on it and saying conference playing games or the playoff. What's the regular season? To determine if I'm in the top 6 so I can play in to go to the playoff? It's an expanded playoff. And then you got people taking petty shots. I will tell you this. Nothing tells you that you're the alpha male more than people trying to take shots at the alpha male. If you see a pack of wolves and you know who the alpha male is, everybody targets him, whether it be for good things or bad things. He always gets targeted, but it always comes at a premium. And everybody tests the alpha dog when things aren't going their way. When people smell blood or wolves smell blood, they're going to test the alpha. And it's for you to go after there and make sure that you can take care of business. But to say the SEC and talk about their week schedule is bullshit. It's complete nonsense. It's complete and utter nonsense. I don't know what they're trying to do. Tyler Townsend says, let's go from the 318-31 great, a very loyal AYS supporter and someone that's on the message board. Good to see you in here, Tyler. We greatly appreciate you being in here. Traylon on YouTube says, I got a lot of questions. Well, Traylon, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. I got questions. You got questions. Everybody's got questions. I'm going to give you tonight my 3 biggest questions going into camp. When those gates open and we get to go into practice, and the first thing that Blake Ruffino is viewing, and it's not really going to be in chronological order, but the three things that after day one, day two, that I'm going to have my eyes on and know for an outright fact of what's going on, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Noah Mason, do us a favor if you're on Twitter. Is it X now? Tell me in the comments, do y'all still call it Twitter or do you call it X? Because I never call it X. I call it Twitter. If you're on Twitter, do us a favor. If we're watching live on Twitter, do us a favor. Hit the retweet button if you don't mind. Just do us a little favor. It doesn't cost you anything. All you got to do is this. Boop, 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 boop. Actually, you only got to do it once. Boop, boop, and you're done. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. But Noah Mason is live in Plano, Texas, like he always is. Our good man TA says he's in the building. Yeah. TA, speaking of TA, you will hear about him and Tyler Alexander right in the opening. Our good real estate agent here, Tyler Alexander. Good to see you in here. Saw Tyler in Omaha. Really good to see our good friend Tyler in Omaha. But yeah, by the way, Tyler will attest to this. Tyler will tell you the truth. So I was in Omaha. You know how when everybody goes to Omaha and the big thing is to go to Rocco's? Bro, the Jell-O shots are the worst thing there. The Jell-O shots are gross. They're awful. They're god-awful. Bruh, Rocco's Pizzeria got some damn fire pizza. Tyler and them got some pizza. I had a slice of it or a piece of it. And it was, what was it, Tyler? The buffalo chicken. And I'm like, this shit is slapping, son. Absolutely slapping. So when LSU goes back to Omaha next year, go and get their pizza. Absolutely fantastic. Spectrum Wellcare says, any reports on Josh Thompson? None, other than he's there and he's going to compete for a starting job. Going to compete for a starting job. Tracy says Trey Holly transfers to Southern. Yes. We talked about that last night when it was happening. Look, I'll tell you this about Trey Holly before we get rolling. I mean, I just don't think anybody thought that, because the Trey Holly situation is very messed up. The reason it's very messed up is you have a young man in Trey Holly that got arrested for an incident that we do not know if he actually did or not. And I'm sure all of you know the incident by now. But in the Trey Holly situation, guys, he had a court date that was set and a trial that was supposed to start on July the 7th, and a freaking AC unit went out. And so the young man can't get his day in court on a timely fashion that dictates to where he could potentially be there for the Tigers on August the 30th. I think the court date, from what I understand, and forgive me if I'm missing the exact dates here, I'm pretty sure the court date for Trey Holly is on August the 28th. So, guys, not only did it take a month, it's taking more than a month. Guys, you play on August the 30th. So I think this whole situation, I don't know what can happen with Trey Holly. I think this whole situation needs, and I wished somebody at the Rotary Club actually asked Brian Kelly about this, but they're not reporters. It's not their job to do it. They want to know about the team. Forget Trey Holly. I get it. But Brian Kelly's got to answer this. And I'm sure what he's going to say is, well, he's technically still suspended. He wanted to play football, and he's at Southern. I have no idea, none, if he can unenroll at Southern and come play at LSU. But, I mean, why not play the season at Southern, see how it goes, then can get back in the portal, and if LSU wants him, go and get him. Because right now you do not have a running back committed in this high school recruiting class, and I think that you probably going to need a couple, or if at least one, and go get somebody. So it is what it is. I hate it for him. I hate it for Trey because he wanted to play at LSU. If you're asking me an opinion, I don't know what happened. I have no clue. I wasn't there. I have absolutely no idea what happened. If you ask me based off of what I do know, though, I don't know if this young man did this. I think that he's covering up for somebody, and he doesn't want that person to take the hit. I think that I'm just going to say it. I think he's getting a little bit railroaded here. Now, it can be found in court that he was the one that did it, and I have to retract all of everything that I said. I don't know what happened. I have no clue. On the outside looking in, it looks like this kid's innocent, and he's being tested. And I hope that the good Lord up above protects the young man, even if he is found guilty. I mean, so many situations, like one of the victims, three or four of the witnesses got arrested a couple of weeks ago, from what I understand, for drug charges. I mean, like, come on, man. Come on. I hope he kills it. But I know he wanted to play here, and that's the bad part about it. Harry Wilson with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Harry. We greatly appreciate it. I think Harry also had a comment in here. It said he calls it X. I see a lot of you saying I call it Twitter. David says he calls it X. Harry is. Harry says I call it X. Yeah, I still call it Twitter, man. I still call it Twitter, unfortunately. AJ, but thank you so much for the super chat, Harry. You know I greatly appreciate that. AJ Bama says, sounded great on Bill King's show this morning. Yeah, I've been doing Bill King's show since January of 2020. Every Wednesday since January of 2020. It's the longest active radio show that I go on. And I love Bill. Talked to him today off air. I talk to Bill pretty much every day. The king of college football. That man knows and has seen more about football than any of us will ever remember. He's been in it for a very, very long time. All right, let's get moving here. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share to all those groups. If you're on Facebook and to all of those social media pages, you're watching us, listening to us on YouTube, like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Let's talk about our good friends over at Service Hawk Digital Media, where they have the right lead, smart systems, and real growth. Guys, Service Hawk Digital Media and Service Hawk Digital Marketing is the best place in all of the greater Baton Rouge area and the North Shore for your marketing experience. Guys, a couple of weeks ago, our good friends Justin and Lee accepted an award for being one of, if not the best marketing firms in the entire state of Louisiana. ServiceHawk.io is where you need to go. ServiceHawk.io. If you're an HVAC, electrical pro, generator pro, you're in engineering, you know that being on top in the marketing game is where you need to be. You need to get those right leads, smart systems, and real growth. There's no better place for you to do that better than Service Hawk Digital Media. Let me get to a quick break. Let's break down what Brian Kelly said next. Harold Perkins, is he back? We talk about that too. Stay with us.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all of Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority. We're back. I got to say something, dude. I am so ready for this freaking football season to be here. Dude, all of these media shots, or all these shots from the coaches of the Big Ten, the SEC, are absolutely insane to me. Absolutely insane to me. Anyway, Jacob Kerrigan, Kerrigan, I'm sorry, I'm butchering your last name. But Jacob, thank you. Sorry for butchering your last name. Says, Blake, thank you for covering LSU. Always stay yourself. You have a different perspective than other journalists who cover LSU, and the diversity of thought is appreciated. Well, thank you. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it, because most of the times people don't come in here to give you praise. Most of the times they come in here to shit all over you. If I had the same amount of positive comments as negative comments on our content, a lot of things, I might feel better about myself sometimes than what I actually do. Jacob, thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. But you know what does signify in the start of college football and the college football season for LSU is when the head coach goes to the Rotary Club and speaks. Today, Brian Kelly did that again. It normally means that you're about a week to 10 days away from the start of season, meaning for me, the start of season, fall camp starts, we go out there and we go and see the team after what feels like a short all season, because baseball absolutely dominated, but we are pretty much here. Couple of days away, and we'll be there. But Brian Kelly did speak to the Rotary Club today, and I thought from an individual level, more than what SEC Media Days did for me, I thought that Brian Kelly had a lot more statements today about how he views the team, where he sees the team going, the things that they've done. He answered a couple of questions. It gave a lot better picture from Brian Kelly's perspective on where he sees the team. I think there are a couple of things in there that I massively agree with him on. There are a couple of things in there that I do not agree with him at all. And we're going to bring up a couple of those tonight. But I think it's really interesting to start off this segment by saying there's one thing that Brian Kelly has brought up now 3 times. Brian Kelly brought up to start off his introduction to the Rotary Club and pretty much giving them a massive thank you and giving people a massive thank you for the amount of money in NIL that was raised after Brian Kelly went out there and said, listen, we need to raise money for NIL. We need to get our roster better, and which they did. It's really interesting about that way, too, because collectives, which I don't know what's going on with Bayou Traditions at the current moment. That's a whole nother story, I guess. But you also get into a situation where collectives just got reapproved. There's nothing that the College Sports Commission can do about the collective. The collectives live on. Court system thought that they were able to get collectives in his South settlement case, and they didn't. But Brian Kelly went out and sent a message 6 months ago to the LSU fan base. Guys, I need money. I need money. There's no more, how do I want to say this? In my youth, there were times in my life when I felt like that I had to run to my parents. And I had to run to my parents and ask for money. Man, I'm broke. I have no money. Zero, zilch, nada, zero money. I need help here. And 9 times out of 10, my parents is obliged in helping me out. Brian Kelly did some of the same thing. It's not that he was poor, because he's not poor, but he did the same thing. It comes from a place of what I don't want to say feels like desperation, but comes from a place like, hey, man, we're in a little bit of trouble. We need your help. We need to go attack this. And the LSU fan base responded. What's interesting is that Brian Kelly has brought this statement up 3 times, saying that over 1,600 people have given or gave to the collective a season ago, raising $3.3 million to the collective to be able to help him and go and bring in the number 1 transfer portal class in the country that we all hope massively benefits this team to make a playoff. Guys, I think in Brian Kelly's own way, and it isn't really in his own way, it is thanking the LSU fan base for going out there and saying thank you for spending money. There are a lot of things that are attached to that. You can't go out there asking fan base for more money and not perform to the level of their standard. Now, some of their standards for me at the current moment are a little bit unrealistic. You know, I've seen some comments from LSU fans on our show saying, man, I got the same feeling as 2019. I think it feels a lot the same way. I think we can do the same thing. To those of you that are out there that are saying that in our comments or in other shows or whatever, you think that this team is going to compete with the best team of all time in 2019, I don't know if you can go there yet. One place that you can go is that I do think, and what Brian Kelly is ultimately saying there is by the talent alone defensively that they were able to go out and get, they are better because, guys, quite honestly, I really do feel that they are. Defensively, even though the offensive weapons with Garrett and Durham and Barryon and Nick Anderson and Aaron Anderson and Chris Hilton, that has been what everybody has discussed. I think that what they don't really come out in the media and talk about enough is what defensively LSU was able to do in their front 7 to potentially get themselves there. But Brian Kelly in that same context brought up, and I agree with him, I think that they did a good job in going and getting very talented players with the money that was raised and bringing them into LSU. But in the same statement, he brought up that he feels like that this is the best roster that he's had at LSU. There's 2 thoughts that I have to that. The one thought that I have to that is, what does Brian Kelly know that I don't? That's number 1. And a guy that has coached over 30 years has got at such a high level, because, guys, Notre Dame and LSU is a very high level to coach at. What does he know and what is he seeing that maybe I am lacking in? Now, some of this can be coach speak, and maybe it is all coach speak. But let's just say hypothetically for a second it's not, because, look, last year at this time, this is not how Brian Kelly talked. You know, in 2023 with Jaden Daniels, he brought up concerns that he had multiple times with his DB room, how they were going to look defensively. Like, man, I don't know about this. What is he seeing that we're not? Because in the last 3 years, Brian Kelly at SEC Media Days or at the Rotary Club always brought up the challenges that he thought that his team was going to face. And those challenges that he talked about the most were personnel-based. Now, he is saying, and he said multiple times, that he feels like it's the best roster. For me, I get to a place where, okay, I can see where you're coming from the receiver room, from maybe even the running back room. I don't know if you can do that at quarterback. I think even at the best, it can be a push because Jaden Daniels is still electric, still very good. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. Like, even you get what I'm trying to say there. Defensive line, I think you're going to be better, especially at edge. I don't know about linebacker. I think the first year under Brian Kelly, the linebacking room was the best in the 3 years prior that he's had. The DB room, guys, maybe we got to go out there and let it see. But 2022, guys, that unit was not bad at all. We will see there. I think he's talking about defensively, we're better than we've ever been. And if he would say defensively, I think this is the best roster and best talent that we've had, I would agree with him. It's very difficult for me to say that this is the best roster that you've had when you had 4 first-round picks on your offense in the last 3 years. 4. Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and Will Campbell. Guys, some of them going number 1 at their position. Some of them going in the 3 of them going in the top 5, top 10. It's a really tough statement to say. I don't know at the current moment that I can agree with him. But there's something that's going on every time he says it for me that I look at this and say, man, I would love to know. I would love for somebody to ask the question and for him to go deeper there. Coach, you say that this is the best roster that you've had at LSU. What specific areas that makes you get there? What specific areas get you there? And it's got to come remotely from the defensive side of things because you can't – I'm not saying you can't. But quarterback, running back, offensive line, I don't know if you can go there. It's got to be all defensively, and which is probably what he's trying to say here when he's talking about that. The interesting thing is he's talked about in accumulating the roster, and he brought it back to start from 6 months ago, obviously in January when they got most of these kids from the portal, and talking about, look, we felt like that we went out and acquired a lot of really good talent. And in acquiring a lot of that really good talent, we have come together and set a specific set of goals. And in the Rotary Club today, Brian Kelly stated that there was a couple of goals that we wanted to be attainable. We want to go 1-0. Guys, how many times do we bring up, can you win an opener? How many times when you're sitting at the water cooler at work and you're talking to your buddy about what's going to happen this upcoming season with LSU, that the one thing that you talk about is very simple, and that being, man, can we win a season opener this year? How many times do some of y'all go on these podcasts or these radio shows or whatever, however you consume content for LSU, do you read about the season opener? Well, Brian Kelly has put all of his chips on the table. We have not won a season opener since I've been here. We've put all over the locker room. We've put everywhere, be 1-0, be 1-0, be 1-0. We've put Paul Prince, Clemson Paul Prince everywhere, be 1-0, be 1-0. Lock in, be 1-0. They are a really good team. They're coming for you. Brian Kelly said in the 30 years of being a head coach, 30 years, that this is the first time that he's done something like this to try to motivate his team to set these goals. Everything that I gather from Brian Kelly at SEC Media Days, everything I gather today from the Rotary Club meeting and him previewing the season is that the sense of there's no way that you can convince me that the man does not feel the utmost sense of urgency, because the utmost sense of urgency is there. Brian Kelly already got out the objection to what you could say. Well, coach, you can go out there and say that, but you better deliver. And he better deliver. They better deliver, because you can't make those statements and not go do it. You cannot do it. But Brian Kelly brought up, look, I know that's a big statement to have, but I think that we can go in there and get it done. And Death Valley Jr., by the way, is what he said today, which is funny, guys. It's not that him saying that's not that big of a deal. He's trying to make a lighthearted joke. Get out of there. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But, guys, here's the truth. You look at LSU's schedule, and what Brian Kelly is really trying to say, listen, we want to get to a playoff. We want to find ourselves being one of the 12 teams that are at the end that are competing for a national title. And the truth and crux of all of this is that Brian Kelly is telling you, guys, he feels that the way that we got to do this is that we just simply got to go 1-0. The SEC is too good. There's too many talented quarterbacks that are on this roster. We won't overcome surviving a week 1 loss. It's what it feels like. Can you realistically survive a week 1 loss? Yes, you technically can. You can be 10-2, but you would have to run the table and go 10-1 after that opening game. You face a really good opponent. You face a really good team. Be 1-0. That is the main goal. I'm actually behind him on this one in this regard. Guys, you got to go out there and focus and lock in on your opponent. You know, we talked about Tyrann Mathieu a lot last night and his retirement. I remember that 2011 season. You know, I've brought up Brandon Taylor a lot on this show, and I remember him telling us on this show, hey, when y'all went into that 2011 season, and he said it literally live on the show, when y'all went into that opening game against Oregon, man, y'all were out there just absolutely dominating. What happened? Brandon brought up that the entire summer, all we talked about was the Oregon game. Shit, bro, Oregon going to beat our ass. They're outworking us right now. And it set them up for a run that they achieved and went on a historic run, and now the main character has just retired. I think about that interview. I think about that conversation. I think about the conversations I've had off air with Brandon about all we did in the locker room with Tommy Moffitt and the boys. Bro, Oregon's outworking us. We better get to it. We better not sit on our hands here. We better get after it. In that, I think Brian Kelly is doing some of the same things. Hey, man, if you're not in this locker room, if you're not putting the work in, we can do so many things. We can bring in more talent. We can do so many things around here. It's up to you now. It's up to you. And guys, here's the truth. The truth of the matter is these kids are getting paid. Some of them at an absolutely incredible rate. Hey, man, Brian Kelly, I mean, I know that you're the head man in this and you're the GM in this, and to some regards of how this ship is turned or how the ship is run. There also comes a point in time where, hey, man, somebody on that team's got to be a leader and say, hey, man, we're getting paid a lot of money to be here. This is a job now, and we got to take hold, and we got to take flight in this. I don't disagree in the logic of what they're doing. Felt like anyway. Somebody's got to take leadership into this. We'll see. We'll see. Guys, it's a massive one, and they're putting a lot of stock into it. I do agree, too, for what it's worth. I do think that you can go into Clemson and win. You can go into Clemson and lose, too. I mean, they're a really good team. They're bringing back a lot of really talented players. And, guys, there comes a point in time you got to just go up there and show people that you can do it. At what point are you going to show up and show people that you can do it is the ultimate question. Let's go find out if you can. Brian Kelly was also at the podium today and was asked a couple of questions here. One that really stood out to me. Boy, Brian Kelly's pretty bullish on this wide receiver room, isn't he? I agree with him. I think that the best unit offensively from a depth perspective is wide receiver. I don't think it's remotely close. Brian Kelly was asked today at the Rotary Club about his wide receiver room, and he goes, guys, I mean, the high-level talent that we have in that room right now with Aaron Anderson, who's coming back after having an electric year, we think sky is the limit for Chris Hilton. We bring in Barian Brown, who broke the SEC record for kick returns for touchdowns. And, guys, I think Barian Brown can do some really good things here for you. And then Nick Anderson, which I think Nick Anderson is the ultimate wild card for LSU. I do. From an offensive perspective, if Nick Anderson performs like he did 2 seasons ago, and that's a level of player that you're getting, guys, God bless Jesus. I mean, you're going to do some very special things. You have the ability to do some very special things. He's got he's got a massive frame, 6'4", 220 pounds, but the dude can outright fly. You got speed. Brian Kelly did say today that, man, we got more speed in that room than I think that we've ever had, and quite honestly, he's telling the truth. Guys, your 6'7" best receiver is Jelani Watkins, who is one of the fastest men in college athletics. So I think Brian Kelly sees this team and sees position rooms and all of the talent that he has, like what he does at the wide receiver position and what you want to do in throwing the football, and says to himself, man, we got something special here. We can work with it. I will talk about this in just a moment. There are a couple of questions that I have. One of them is going to be how the DB room is shaped up as we preview fall camp here. You can't preview the DBs without the wide receivers. And I thought the wide receivers did some really good things this spring. Because, again, we're going into another camp where spring period, Chris Hilton was unguardable. They couldn't catch him. He was blazing through everybody. It happened in fall camp the previous time. Then he got hurt. I mean, guys, the Chris Hilton that we saw in fall camp a year ago was the person that y'all saw at the end of the season. Legitimately. But we don't talk about that during the season because it's not really relevant. But at 1,000% is what we saw. BK is very, very bullish on this wide receiver room. Brian Kelly did bring this up, and I thought it was very bullish as well. Probably the biggest statement that he's made at his time at LSU. Brian Kelly told the Rotary Club today that it's not a question for him if they're going to win a national title. The question that he's asking himself is, when are they going to win a national title with him at LSU? It's massive statements to have here. You went out and spent the money to get players that you think that can lead you to a playoff and to a national title run. You got a second-year quarterback that a lot of people believe and think that can and is the best player at his position in the entire country. You brought in interior offensive linemen. You brought in a defense that you think, especially in the interior and exterior of the defensive line, that you think that can compete to help you win an SEC championship game. You brought in a lot of secondary pieces. He's not shying away from national championship hopes. For me, I'm pumping the brake on that. For me, I'm pumping the brake on, hey, can we start seeing some things in fall camp? Can we get some things cleaned up before we start talking about this, being a national title contender? Not if, but when. Okay, well, there's a lot of things that you got to do. I don't think LSU has shown yet that they are there. Again, goes to my opening comment and opening statement about Brian Kelly. The opening statement and opening comment that I had is, what does he know and what has he seen in his career when he looks at this team that he believes that this team could do something special? I mean, a lot of us see a lot of the pieces, but your head coach is saying some very, I don't want to say crazy things. That's not the word I'm looking for. Some very bulletin board material things that if you don't perform in them, then you're asking the question, how did you get here? I know he previewed the season. Guys, based off of their expectations, not mine. Based off of Brian Kelly's expectations, everything that they've said this offseason, guys, anything but being in the playoff is an outright failure. It's an outright failure. You can't spend the money. You can't talk that amount of talk and not have that. It's the bottom line. All right. Alexander Taylor says, Blake, bubble wrap Chris Hilton until August the 30th. I agree. Guys, listen. Some of you will believe it. Some of you won't. I promise you this. You don't have to trust my word. Go ask anybody that's in the media that was actually at practices and didn't leave halfway through and then go say, Chris Hilton didn't look good at all today. And, brother, you weren't even there. By the way, not to call these people out, you know who they are. Some of you know who they are because you put context clues together. We had people that come on YouTube and do video content who were talking about receivers that didn't have good days and DBs that didn't have good days that weren't at practice. They weren't there. How the flying hell do you know? There's no way that you know that. Zilch, nada, none. There's no way that you know that. You weren't there. Listen to me when I say this. The Chris Hilton that you saw at the end of the season last year was the Chris Hilton that we got to see for 4 weeks. Legitimately. The only person that I saw during spring that contained and stopped Chris Hilton was number 3 DJ Pickett all spring. It's the only one that stopped him. There was a play where Mansour Delane was on Chris Hilton. Chris ran a hitch route. Nuss had to scramble, and he batted the ball away. But I don't remember a time where I saw Mansour Delane and Chris Hilton going like on a deep ball. Regardless of all of that, Chris Hilton obliterated everybody. And there was a couple of times, Stamps. There was an in route he ran on Mansour Delane where he got like 35, 40. There was the DJ Pickett stuff where him and DJ went back and forth. You know, he caught a fade route in the red zone, in the back pylon of the red zone that they said was in bounds, where he was on DJ Pickett on. But DJ was the only one that I saw from a fade route speed standpoint that contained him, that was there to make plays. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. We'll come back and talk a little bit about Harold Perkins. We'll preview fall camp. Stay with us. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Foss and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Foss has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirement. Hey, Southwest Louisiana, are you ready to gear up for your next outdoor adventure or tackle that next big job on the farm? Then head on over to Henderson Tractors, Boats, and Power Sports. At Henderson and Lake Charles, they've got everything you need under one massive 30,000 square foot indoor showroom. Kubota tractors and mowers to power through the toughest tasks. Polaris off-road bikes and side-by-sides to conquer any trail. And tracker boats with brands like Ranger, Nitro, Sun Tracker, and Regency pontoons for a day out on the water. Whether you're a farmer or a hunter or just someone who loves the great outdoors, Henderson has what you need to get the job done and have fun while doing it. Browse their new and used inventory over at their website, hendersonimplement.com. That's hendersonimplement.com. Or give them a call today at 337-436-4366. That's 337-436-4366. Or go see them over in Lake Charles on the corner of East McNee Street and Highway 14. Remember, if you need a tractor, go to Henderson. Need a boat? Go to Henderson. Or if you need an ATV or side-by-side, you know where to go. Henderson. Just let them know that your good friend Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you on by. Every time we go to a break and come back, our internet goes to shit. Just completely poo-poos the bed. I have no idea what goes on here. But these next couple of segments are brought to you by our good friends over at Section 103, where their apparel is more comfortable than the club seats that you are sitting in. Guys, go over to section103.com today. Go to the LSU section. Guys, I tell you this every day. I wear all of their shirts. I think for me, and I do not say this lightly, for me, they're the most comfortable T-shirts around, and I wear them every day. I think they fit perfectly. At least they fit perfectly for me. They're affordable. They're really, really good material. The hats are badass. I wore two of them today, actually, outside of the one that I'm wearing now from our good friends over at Mellon. But regardless of that, section103.com, go to the LSU section, go and get some of their apparel. LSU-related stuff. It's fantastic. Use the promo code AYS at checkout. You'll get 10% off of your order. That's AYS at checkout. You'll get 10% off of that order. Harold Perkins was announced today by LSU to be the Freak of the Week. We talked about Harold Perkins a lot last night. I've talked about Perkins a lot here. The advantages with this defense under Blake Baker that I think he has at star. Here's the one thing that we didn't talk about last night with him being the quote-unquote Freak of the Week. Now, this is the first time you've ever heard of what LSU has done here. Every week, Jake Flint, the LSU strength and conditioning coach, awards a player on LSU's football team that has stood out the most to him. This week, it was Harold Perkins. Guys, there are a couple of things I'm hearing on Perk in reference to a rehab situation. Number one, I've heard that he's gotten back from an athletic standpoint to where he had been before the ACL. One person or one source told me that there were a couple of metrics that he actually performed better in this season when they're using the catapult stuff. I think Perk looks a lot leaner. I think he looks ready to go. I think that the advantage that you have with him playing at star could be absolutely massive. And I think that the sky is the limit for Perk. Guys, I am still bullish on him as an athlete. I'm very, very bullish on him as an athlete. I get to a place with Perkins where I see him and say to a lot of people who believe, look, Perk underperformed as a sophomore, and then last year he got hurt from the expectations that we have from him as a freshman. Well, he didn't technically underperform as a sophomore. They didn't put him in a position, or they didn't lead him into a position, and I thought he would be okay in the inside. He was not, and I was wrong there. Guys, he's still a massively great athlete. I hope that they find a position for him. I hope that this works for him. I hope that he's able to do a lot of the things that we've seen him do in the past. He's a unique skill set and a unique player. I know some people joked with me today and said that he should have been at running back. Maybe he should have been. But the bottom line remains is that I think that Harold Perkins is still that dude. You got to find a way to utilize him in the right way. If him rushing the passer is the best thing that he does, then you need to let him do that. You need to do that. You legitimately need to put him in the best position to what he thinks is the outright best. I think he's going to have a great season. Look, I've never really come out here and said that Perkins is going to have a double-digit sack season. Please go back and watch any videos. I've never been the guy like Perkins. Something feels different about this one for me. I don't know what it is. I want to see him back on the field, but I think that he is, based off of where they've put him and based off of what Blake Baker showed at Missouri at the position that he's going to play, and based off of what we saw Perkins in 2023 play at that position, he picked off Missouri from that position. Based off of what Baker wants to do, I think the sky is the limit for him. I think he's, I hate to say it like this, I think he's double the player that Major Burns was, and you put him in that position, guys, you got to get after the quarterback with him, and I think that they will this year, and I'm glad that Perk has shown. And look, I don't think Jake Flint's playing favorites. Guys, 3 weeks ago, he gave the award to a walk-on. So I don't think he's playing favorites here. I think Perk has really been that guy. And for once, I don't know if y'all saw in the clip that LSU posted today. For once, guys, Perk has been a little bit different of a leader. It's his team. It's his defense. So let's go out there and take it to him. But I'm really, really glad that he's been a part about it. All right. Let's get to this before we get out of here. We got probably preseason segments that we do. This is one of my more favorite ones. let's do a fall camp preview. Every year when we get the email that says, hey, it's fall camp time, tell us if you're coming or not. We always do this segment. Fall camp preview. Basically what this is for me, what are the three biggest questions for LSU going into the season, or really not even the season? Gus, what are the three biggest questions for LSU going into fall camp? When the doors open and the gates open, if I asked all of you, what are the three things that you want to see from LSU at fall camp? Here's how they fall for me. Number one, and these are in no specific order. Zero specific order about what I want to see, what I think we all want to know and see. These are the three things for Blake Ruffino that I am going to be keeping a hawk eye on, and I'm not talking about Marvel. These are the three areas that I got to see and I want to see the most. Number one, guys, the number one position group that I'm watching all offseason or all fall camp is the offensive line. You had two guys that were drafted at a very high level in Emory Jones and Will Campbell. You're replacing two interior players and Garrett Dellinger and Miles Frazier. You got four new starters along your offensive line. The spring was not a good time for you, and incorporating four new guys, it did not go your way this spring. The thing about LSU's offensive line that is intriguing to me, but something we have not seen, the thing that we have not seen has been simple. You have not seen Josh Thompson inserted into that lineup. You have not seen Carius Kern inserted to that lineup for the first team. You have not seen Braylon Moore at an extensive level, extended at center for a long period of time, and you haven't seen DJ Chester move the right guard. If you ask me today, my offensive line would be, and I'm just speculating because I have no clue, my offensive line would be Tyree Adams when it's all said and done. Tyree Adams, Josh Thompson, Braylon Moore, DJ Chester, Weston Davis. It's what I think that they're going to do. Again, I have no clue. We got a long, long way to go and figure out maybe Carius Kern finds a way to get himself in that starting lineup even in week one. All of that we'll find out about. But the biggest storyline that we got to have is what this offensive line does. Guys, last year you couldn't run the football. I think some of that had to do with scheme. I think some of that had to do with running backs missing the hole. I think some of that had to do with I did not understand what Joe Sloan was trying to do. Now, the last time that you brought in an offensive-minded guy to help you with a situation that you struggled in, it ironically was 2019. When you brought in Joe Brady to bring in and help Ensminger with a passing game and third down situational stuff, and everything absolutely blew up. In that, what is very interesting to me, you brought in Alex Atkins. Guys, quite honestly, let's call it what it is. BK had to get involved in the running game a season ago when it came to play calling. Brian Kelly can't walk that back for me. What you can't walk back is getting your head coach involved in play calling offensively, and in those offensive play calling, then at the end of the season, your team start getting better in running the football. That goes to show you, whether it be Florida, who, by the way, did not have a bad defensive line. Guys, Caleb Banks from media outlets not named AYS, they have Caleb Banks as the number one interior defensive lineman in the SEC, and I actually do agree with them on that. You ran the football at a much better rate against them. Why? Well, Brian Kelly got involved there. Does Alex Atkins have any form of his hands involved in this running game? I hope that he does. I hope that Brad Davis can figure something out. But the thing there that makes everyone pause is, guys, you had the best offensive lineman in the country per the draft last year in Will Campbell. Emory Jones got drafted in the third round to a team in Baltimore who, guys, quite honestly, doesn't miss along their offensive line. Go look at the players that Baltimore has drafted along the offensive line and go look at their starting offensive line right now. Go look at it. All of them were drafted. All of them were drafted. So you get to a place, you get to a situation where, man, they were really high on Emory Jones, and Baltimore doesn't really be missing on draft picks like that. Replacing four is a big deal. Guys, I think it's the most intriguing storyline in all of this. I say this a lot. I don't think it's close. Like, I think Garrett Nussmeier can do a lot of things and better than what he did a season ago, especially with the turnovers. Because he's not going to do better if his offensive line can't help him run the football and if they can't protect him. The things that you did at wide receiver don't mean anything. They really don't. They mean nothing if your quarterback is under duress the entire time. Garrett's going to have to get out the pocket a little bit more. He's got to know that, listen, man, this spring had to teach you that your offensive line had their struggles. So you got to be able to push forward here. You got to be able to be in a situation where, man, this offensive line, they got to take a massive step, and I think it's the biggest storyline. It also comes in the premium of, well, to see this offensive line get better and see if they've developed and seen if they've gotten better in such a short amount of time. That defensive line has got to go up against them. And quite honestly, it was a bloodbath. Can we turn it around? And the question becomes, now if you insert some of these guys that weren't in the number ones in the rotation during spring, does this offensive line question mark start changing in the middle of camp when you start getting guys like Josh Thompson, when you start getting guys like Braylon Moore or Carius Kern, or moving DJ Chester over to right guard? How much does that change? Offensive line is the biggest storyline for me, and it's the first place I'm going when those gates open next week or 2 weeks from now. The second one, and the one defensively, is not really a question mark for me in the sense of how do I want to say this? I don't think the secondary is a massive question mark. Like, I don't think that the safety room and DB room at corner is going to be worse than it was the season ago. Quite honestly, I don't think you can get worse than you were at safety a year ago, if we're being honest. I think you were that bad. I think you had the worst safety room and worst starters at safety in the SEC a year ago. I don't mean that lightly. I mean that with my whole chest. I just don't know if I can see a world where safety play can be much worse than it was the last two seasons. With that being said, my question mark is not how they're going to perform. More of what it is who's going to be the guys that are there and where they lined up. I would expect Mansour Delane to be at a boundary. I would expect Ashton Stamps to be at a boundary. What happens with Jakeem Jackson? What happens with DJ Pickett? Who moves in the slot? When you're not at star, who is your nickel corner? Is it going to be Tamarcus Cooley, who played that position a lot at NC State? Are you going to keep Perk there a lot? What are you going to do there? Are you going to start Deshaun Spears at safety? AJ Halsey comes involved here. Who's going to be in your secondary? I don't think, for me, it's not about the performance and everything to do with where they're lined up. I don't know who your starting unit is. I know you brought in a lot of guys, have no idea where they're playing. Guys, by the way, Jordan Gilbert is a name that we haven't brought up. He was a starter for you a year ago. He was a starter. So what happens with Jordan Gilbert? If Jordan Gilbert does return and is given a starting position, I mean, listen, we'll see here, but I think you got better safeties than Jordan Gilbert at the current moment. So we'll see. Question is on secondary. The question's not about their talent. The question is about where they're going to be lined up. Last but not least, here's one that I got to throw out there. Running back. You know what's interesting? The biggest thing that plagued LSU a year ago was the running game. And the two questions that I have the most, offensive line and running backs. Guess what your depth look like? What does Caleb Jackson look like? What does Harlan Berry look like? What does Lindsey look like? Is Caden Durham fully healthy and ready to go? Guys, you are not going to a playoff if you're 108th in the country in rushing the football. Won't happen. Won't happen. It simply will not happen. I don't know, in all of the offseason talk, I don't know for me. It's one thing for On3 to run out there and say, oh, I just don't see a world where they're not better at running the football. There's a world. You lost 4 offensive linemen and the best offensive lineman in the country. There is a world. Guys, the worst, here's what's funny. Think about it like this. In 2023, LSU was 108th in the country in passing yards allowed. One of the worst secondaries in the country. Guys, rushing offense for LSU a season ago was 108. That's how bad of a level it was at. Well, Blake, that secondary was horrible. Well, guys, you were just as bad at running the football a season ago. I'm going to be spending a lot of time on the offensive side, and a lot of that has to do with seeing a lot of this defense and defensive line as well, and linebacking core, because there is no bigger question mark than what you do in the running game. I think Garrett's going to get better with the turnovers. I think your wide receiver room is the deepest unit offensively. I think that even with running back, for what it's worth, I think you're talented there. I think you're very talented there. The question is are they going to get running lanes where they can run the football at a high level? You brought in 2 offensive guys at the running back position that are freshmen, and Harlan Berry, who was the number 1 running back in the country, and Lindsey out of Alexandria. Because it is the biggest question for me. Hey, if you can't run it, then by God, I don't know what else to say. I legitimately don't. All right. Any super chats off in here? Let's make sure we don't have any super chats. But going into fall camp, those are my 3 biggest things. The 3 biggest questions, the 3 biggest things I'm watching out for. And we'll go from there. And we'll see. 29th, baby. Next week, right? I think it's either the 30th or 29th, I think, is when fall camp opens. Couple of comments before we get out of here. Brambo says, if we lose, BK will deny calling Clemson Stadium Death Valley Jr. I agree. Harry says, I want to see them block on passing and opening the lineup for running. Offense is the biggest question. Yeah, I mean, listen, running the ball is the biggest question. Really, for me. I mean, you can't, guys, think about it like, again, I think the best way that I can illustrate it is in 2023, you had one of the worst secondaries in LSU's history. You had one of the worst secondaries in the country. From a passing yards allowed standpoint, LSU was 108th in the country in passing defense. You turn around the next year in 2024, post Jaden Daniels on offense, you were 108th in rushing offense. Well, Blake, what do those two have any correlation between the one of them? Because the narrative around LSU in 2023 was, man, this secondary and defense is awful. Well, guys, you were just as awful at running the football a year ago. So when those camp doors open and we walk through those doors and you ask me what the first thing that I want to pay attention to is, yes, take attendance and see where some things are going on, sure. But the one thing that we got to really get our eyes on and make sure that we're seeing and see what's going on is the offensive line and run game. Garrett Nussmeier will not be better and won't have a chance to be better if that offensive line is not better. I think you got some talented pieces, and Carius Kern is on the way. But it remains to be seen. So we'll see. All right. We're out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a great night. Peace out, Girl Scout.